Hey there, everybody. Welcome to yet another chat session with remarkable people who I have been fortunate to stumble across and kind enough to want to spend time with me and kind of talk about their backgrounds, their histories, their journey story, and what it is they're actually up to now. This particular episode is wonderful. I'm not entirely certain how at Pianpian, how we ultimately kind of came across, although I did see you in a couple of other posts on LinkedIn, possibly an article or something like that. And I was like, wow, that's a very impressive person. And then I think you reached out to me proactively and you were like, hey, let's have a chat. Let me tell you what I'm up to. And it has been a fascinating, if not slightly exhausting journey in terms of getting to know you because of the life you have led thus far at a very, very young age. I have to say, I feel rather overwhelmed just listening to like all the different, kind of like trials and tribulations and movements and different experiences that you've had, which ultimately have led you to develop Amotions, which we'll get into in a little bit, which is an AI generated coach extraordinaire. Really, really fascinating stuff. So, look, I'm Jeff Wellstead. I'm the founder and CEO of Big Bear Partners. Big Bear Partners originally was a company that focused on building people strategies for hypergrowth technology companies post-investment. And when the idea was we want to go from small to big to global, and we need help thinking that stuff through. I've now kind of like adopted a real focus on AI tools in HR. I have deep belief that this technology is in truth going to be the ultimate game changer for this very, very important function of ours. And I love exploring technologies that basically will help us get there, real world stories and technologies. So without further ado, and please pardon both Pianpian and myself, suffering from I'm suffering from man flu, of course. So my case is much, much worse than hers because I'm a man and I can't take the pain. But we're suffering from a bit of a cold. So we're going to hopefully work our way through this and have some fun. But Pianpian, you have, again, this wonderful life story. Everybody can read about it on your LinkedIn profile, but to hear you talk about it, I find really wonderful. Can you do me a favor and just kind of share how it is you ultimately got to this point?
Yeah. Thank you so much, Jeff, for the kind introduction. That's very kind of you. We got connected over a talk on HR and AI and kind of initially. And thank you for reading about my profile. So hi, everyone. My name is Pianpian, founder and CEO of Amotions, an AI coaching and upskilling startup. I'm originally from China, a village there in Guangdong province. I grew up there, went to school in China and Japan, and then got my master's in social science from Hong Kong University of Science and Technology, and then came over to the US initially to do my PhD in sociology at Yale. And I left Yale after getting my master's degrees in sociology and kind of started working in tech as a product manager. And the reason that I wanted to go into the tech industry is I thought internet was a powerful tool in terms of for me to get access to information and apply to schools in the US and other places in the world. And I want to do something with it. And when I started my career as a product manager after my master's in sociology, I was really struggling. I mean, it was an exciting job, but I got no training and I just got thrown into a job called product manager. And I had to lead like team of senior engineers and kind of, I mean, I found it really challenging to figure out like how do I build good relationship with my managers, colleagues, and also lead the teams and what does it mean to be a product manager. So I was actually hoping to have maybe an AI coach that can follow me around and give me real-time suggestions and feedback and say things like, hey, you're about to argue with your manager, and take a step back and take a deep breath, and here's how you can kind of talk in a way that's maybe less defensive, so you're not getting fired. So that's kind of like the early story. And after working in tech for about 10 years, I finally kind of made my way and kind of learned to become a director of product at the Series A startup. And I was still thinking about the idea that I've been kind of talking to people for a few years, and I finally make the jump and started Amotions kind of about 2 years ago, and kind of hoping to build an AI coach that actually can help myself and a lot of people, millions of people in the world who struggle with their career or leadership or other aspects related as well.
Yeah, brilliant. And look, I mean, you're leaving lots of really wonderful, juicy details out there. How many languages do you speak?
I speak 5. I speak Mandarin plus 2 dialects, Cantonese and a Chinese dialect, and I speak some Japanese and English.
Yeah. So, I mean, quite quite a journey you've been on, basically, to then come over here and attend Yale and get graduate degrees done. And then, to your point, you became an American citizen at some stage too, didn't you?
That's right. Yes. Last
Amazing.
year. Yeah.
Congratulations. No, that's great.
Thank
That's
you.
great. It's cool. No, I love that notion. That's a brilliant origin story, and I appreciate that because, yeah, wouldn't it have always ever been wonderful to have something in your life who basically didn't judge you, who didn't bring a level of bias or their own psychological baggage to every conversation, where you felt like you would never be judged, that you basically could reach out to and basically ask anything to it, and basically get back a highly informed, personalized, intelligible, and action-oriented solution, that you can go do something with. I mean, I think that's interesting. I think, people, kids growing up, basically, who are going to kind of live with AI every day, in a million different ways, are going to have a very, very different, kind of experience, I think, than certainly we did growing up, trying to kind of feel our way in dark rooms and try to figure out where the next door was.
Yes.
And then, kind of jump through the next door without necessarily having the skills, training, support, or whatever the case to kind of get there. So yeah, we did it the hard way. We got there in the end. But yeah, this notion of emotions, and what it is you're building, really interesting. When you first told me about it, I thought, uh-oh, here we go again. Another chat GPT, kind of bot factory, assembly line thing. I built 3 of those myself. I love the process. I was like, oh my God, this is the coolest thing ever, and it kind of has like a bit of a wizard that kind of talks you through the different steps in terms of what you want. And it's only ever as good, frankly, as the prompts and the detail that you put into it. But you can't train it very well. I mean, you can put some stuff into it. You can kind of upload some presentations, some PDF files and things of that nature, which is cool. Don't get me wrong. But it's not necessarily, the end product isn't necessarily something that is so outrageously detailed and personalized as to differentiate it from, frankly, a lot of other, kind of generative AI tools.
Yeah.
So I want to make sure people understand, now that I've kicked it around a little bit and had a really good look at Amotions, I want people to kind of understand what does, in fact, your tool, how does it differ, if you will, from sort of the typified things. It's really important. I think people understand that.
Yeah. So our AI is specialized in kind of using AI to do career coaching and leadership coaching, and it actually grounded with expert knowledge from psychologists from Stanford and Yale, and also certified coaches, and with their expertise and knowledge, and we kind of train the AI with some of those knowledge so it can learn to talk like a career coach and leadership coach. So instead of a generic ChatGPT, it's more conversational. It knows how to ask questions, insightful questions, and it also knows how to empathize with people, besides giving guidance and feedback. Another aspect of our product is that it can be customized with any personal information and also companies' data and documents, because it's not just fitting it like a few PDFs like a person can do, but we can actually integrate with softwares. For example, integrate with your calendar, integrate with, if we're working with a company, we can integrate with their HR tool or learning management system, integrate with people's chat tool. Partly is to gather the information, and so that the AI can understand, okay, if the AI understand the person's context, like, hey, you have a meeting coming up with Jeff, and here's what you should know about Jeff and prepare in advance. But also, it can be combined with the company's culture and knowledge, and their own kind of database of knowledge, so that when it's answering questions, it can draw the knowledge of the company. I mean, most companies have their own culture and mission, and I mean, employee protocols, and even their own documentations on how they develop products and things like that. So the AI can be equipped with those information and be more personalized and powerful, and help people, instead of sending an employee to like hundreds of documents, try to find things on their own. Now they can use the AI to guide them, onboard them quickly, especially the new employees, on certain important steps and things. So that's part of it, but also we're integrating with tools that people use in their daily life, like chat tools that people normally use with their coworkers. So it's making it part of the flow of work. And what we're hoping to do is, I was talking to someone who's like leading learning in the companies, instead of the pool model, which is the user have to go to the AI to ask a question and then the AI answer. The AI now become intelligently knows, okay, when you might need help and when you might need some kind of learning and information, and the AI can come to a person and say, hey, I know you have a performance review coming up. Here's some tips on how to do performance review. So it's like giving them information. Now AI can also do things like role play with users. So it can imitate like a difficult client and do role plays as well.
Oh, that's clever. Wow. That was a lot in terms of a complete feature function set, and super impressive. So I mean, presumably then, a couple of questions I had about that. One is just to kind of allay concerns and fears people might have, as is now kind of being thrown around, off the back of lots of scaremongering, but also some concerns and issues that are popping up with big tech companies, and the concern that AI is possibly well ahead of the politicians in terms of their ability to kind of recognize the good, the bad, and the ugly of the uses and potentially misuses of AI, and therefore kind of putting legislation together literally at speed without doing. And it's got all of us in a bit of a tizzy, thinking, oh gosh, what's going on here? Is this like such bad stuff? Concerns obviously are the more personal stuff we enter into, some kind of a chatbot, whatever the case, depending on what it's connected to and depending on how it is potentially we have or have not firewalled it off from the internet. Anything personal in there, potentially anything company related or IP related, does that, is that stuff at risk? How is it you kind of address that?
Yeah, I mean, we look to save people's kind of make sure that the information people enter are safe and encrypted and anonymized. So
All right.
it's useful for the AI to understand the person better, but we are not kind of sharing the information with anyone else, and it's helpful to make the AI more powerful and useful for the individual users, but it's not in a way that kind of could be leaked or harmful. So that's something we're surely making it, keeping it in mind. And maybe I can kind of show how the product works and give people a little bit more
Yeah,
context.
that'd be great.
Now, right now, it's we can talk to the AI. The AI can respond in text. But at some point, we want the AI to be able to respond back also in voice, and maybe even adding like kind of the visual facial expressions, like avatar kind of things as well. And we want the AI to be able to, for example, like if a user allows to, it can even be part of a call, and then give people real-time suggestions in the middle of the call. So that's something we are working towards, so that our AI pops up asking me how am I feeling. So I'm just kind of using some of the personas that we have learned from talking to our customers and users. I'm feeling quite stressed because I just started a new job as an entry manager at a tech company, and I need to lead a big remote team. Give me some tips.
Oh, that's pretty good recognition, right? I mean, it's not like
Yeah.
it's not as if probably any of us for that matter, are always ever speaking very, very clearly. But I have to say that that really kind of like it caught exactly what you were talking about beautifully. Okay, here we go.
So it sounds like you're feeling overwhelmed with your new role as a manager. It's completely normal to feel this way when starting a new job, especially in a leadership position. One tip for managing a large remote team is to ensure clear communication, set expectations clear on, and make sure everyone understands their roles and responsibility. Regular check-ins can also be beneficial to keep track of progress and address any issues promptly. Additionally, delegating tasks effectively can help manage workload and reduce stress. Remember, it's okay to ask for help or clarification if needed. That's a good tip, but I don't have enough time to do regular check-ins with everyone. What do I do? Now, I can also make this a bigger kind of visual as well, besides
Okay, cool.
what we currently have. Seems like you're struggling with time management in your new role. Have you consider using project management tools or software to keep track of everyone's tasks and progress? This could save you time on individual check-ins while still keeping you updated on the team's work. Yeah, that's a good idea. Recommend some tools if you have some. And then I can also have the AI to recommend videos or practices and that we have in the database from psychologists, certified coaches. Now, as I mentioned, if a company has their own content, we can tap into what they have as well.
Cool. So that's important to know. So let's say a company has a learning and development or department, and what you're trying to do is obviously kind of contextualize that learning and development. And so what you could do basically is potentially upload it into Amotions. Is that the idea?
Yeah, either upload it or we can integrate with the tools that company currently has that host their content, and then have the AI partly is to digest that and being able to recommend things, but also the AI is already equipped with the knowledge from the content. So a user can either get a quick answer from talking to the AI, or if they want to watch something, they can do that. Recommend a video for new managers, especially large remote team. And then it's currently kind of searching through what we have in our content library.
Right, good time.
And then we also have like practices that people can do in their own time, like on their skills. So emotional intelligence skills is one of them. And then doing some of these work, people can kind of tap into how they're feeling, talking about what are their challenges, and then from there they can also get some recommendation on how to tackle some of their daily challenges as well. And then we can also have the AI to do role plays with people. So can you role play with me as an employee that's not finishing work on time? I'm a new manager managing a big engineering team. And then the AI can take some of those information and imitate what the kind of a conversation could look like. And then if we feed the documents and information into the AI, it has more context on the company's culture and mission. And all right. So yeah, sure, I would be happy to help you practice this there as an employee who's not finished work on time. I say something, I understand my recent performance has not been up to par. I've been struggling with managing my time effectively, especially in the remote work. I'm open to suggestion how I can improve. And then they can imitate. As a manager, it's important to approach with empathy and understanding. Respond something like, I appreciate your honesty and openness about this. It's not uncommon to struggle, especially in remote work. Let's work together to come up with the plan. that can help you manage your tasks more effectively. Have you tried any time management tools? So it's kind of
Okay.
imitating what the conversation might look like.
Okay, cool. So it's basically telling you, yep, that's fine. I can definitely do the role play for you, and actually gives you a bit of context and kind of helps you think in advance of that conversation, the things that are going to be useful. That's very clever. I like that.
Yeah,
Okay.
it can kind of imitate different personas as well. So it can,
And were those personas like preloaded somehow? Like, how does it know to figure that out? Or does
so
it just?
we have put some prompts in advance that the AI has certain characters and personalities. Now we can kind of tailor it further as if we have for example, I recently talked to someone who's leading learning at a company, and he wants our AI to help their salespeople to practice different scenarios to handle objections from customers. So in that case, we can work with them to kind of input specific scenarios they have, and then
Okay.
also input their way of kind of scoring the people's response, and then have the AI to imitate and understand that as well. So that's something we can even further tailor with any documents and information.
Got it. Very interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So as it's role playing in this particular case,
Mm-hmm.
basically it came back and said, yeah, okay, I'm going to tell you that I'm unhappy with the service I received, not what I expected, and I don't feel like my concerns were taken seriously. Just
Mm-hmm.
paraphrasing, of course. Um, and then basically it goes on to kind of say, well, here's some advice. Here's what I'd suggest is to,
Mm-hmm.
remain calm and professional and say something like, sorry to hear that. That shows level of empathy. That you're not satisfied with the service shows I was listening. Your feedback is important to us, and we take that concern seriously. I'm giving you credibility and some level of agency back. Could you please provide me more details about the information about the situation so we can address it? So you're basically kind of hopefully getting them past their initial level of frustration, difficulty, anger, whatever that is,
Mm-hmm.
having acknowledged it professionally.
Yeah,
And in a way that's not robotic, but in fact quite human, you're kind of moving them on to the next step. Okay,
that's
here
right.
we go.
Yeah, and then the more information we put in to kind of the AI, the more it can respond back as the information. So if I give more context, like a customer at McDonald's or a customer at the bank, the role play is coming back will be even more tailored and specific to their scenario as well. So
Got it.
it's okay. So now it's how I can kind of handle certain things in certain
So I'll
scenarios.
tell you what, I'll read it through and give you a second to breathe, unless you're going to show us some new functionality.
Mm-hmm.
I like you've got this here. Okay, cool. Oh, look at that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
Recommended
so
videos. Oh,
we have
nice.
some of these that with as I mentioned made with certified coaches, psychologists as well.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
That's great.
And
Now you also, yeah, go
mhm.
ahead.
This is also mobile responsive. So if someone is using on the phone, they can make it like easy to use on a phone, and kind of they can easily access it from a phone standpoint. So it's not just limiting to a laptop as well.
Got it.
Mm-hmm.
Got it. That's useful. Very cool. You had mentioned, or at least it was on your website, I think, that you also have this notion of nudges. Can you talk to me a little bit about that, about how you understand nudges to work and how they work with emotions?
Yes. Yeah. So the concept is that the AI is not just there waiting for someone to ask a question, but the AI can help people achieve their goals and help people be successful by understanding like who you are, and being able to provide things like you can say like, okay, you just start a new job as a manager, and then you have a goal of being able to talk to everyone on your team, but also being able to talk to your peers and build rapport with them. Now the AI can check in with after the person set the goal, the AI can check in a week. Hey, how did those one-on-one meetings go? Have you had the chance to arrange one-on-ones with everyone? What are your learnings from those? So the AI, in a sense, is I mean, it's imitating what a human coach might do, to check in with the person and see how things are going, and then remind people on to do certain things, and even giving tips on, hey, here's some tips on how you can build better relationship in the first 90 days of your job.
So that's interesting. So you built that functionality in, obviously, in the back end, but so, and is it in essence like we've had a conversation and the AI bot kind of understands, or Emotions understands the context of that conversation, and that likely there will be a follow-up component to it. Is that kind of how it determines to then follow up
That's
in
right.
however
Yeah.
many days? Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Clever.
Yeah. So understand what's the context, and then come back to check in with people.
Mm, okay, cool, good, cool. Okay, so what I got so far is this is not your average chat bot. This obviously can ingest a good deal of both personalized and company-wide contextual information, which is certainly useful. It can also pull from a lot of the pre-trained intelligence that you've already given it in the context of executive coaching and leadership, which is great. It can perform nudges and kind of knows when to go follow up with things that you guys have talked about, with suggestions that have been made and so forth, just to make sure that you haven't forgotten about it. Pardon me. But additionally, it kind of gives you sort of a running pathway, a running learning path is what I'm trying to say, with regard to the fact that it's in my interactions with it, I'm training it in essence to kind of get to know me better over the course of time. Can we talk a little bit about that sort of, kind of neural learning capacity that is so typified of AI? How does that work in the context of Emotions?
Yeah. So the concept is that the AI can remember conversations, and it doesn't matter whether you talk to the AI one in 10 days ago or one in a month ago. It remembers what you have talked about, and then come back and say, hey, I recall you mentioned it's very challenging for you to, you have a conflict with one of our colleagues, and it was very challenging. Can you give me some tips on how to, like you asked me for some tips on how to handle the conflict. How did it go? And here are some further suggestions on how to resolve that if you haven't solved it. So our users liked it. They were amazed at, like, oh yeah, it actually remember our past conversation and come back to do with more follow-ups and suggestions. So it's training the AI to kind of remember things that sometimes might be even hard for human to remember over time. And the AI is able to do that for each user and each individual, and it's not mixing up with different users.
Yeah, right, exactly. Yeah, as oftentimes a coach or a psychologist can accidentally do, right? As they're only human. Okay, cool. And so how does it, and what does it learn about me over the course of time, so that my experience, I guess, how does my experience differ from day one of playing with Emotions versus, I've had it going and running for a year now, and I've been reasonably conversational with it. What would that difference look like?
So instead of the person have to explain things like the top challenges and goals, the AI can go back and refer to things that someone has already talked about and know what the person's goals and challenges are. And if we have information on, for example, like someone's role, and we can actually set that in the system. So we have a way for people to kind of add the information in the system as well, so they can set their roles and goals and all those. Now, I mean, we can also integrate with someone's company system, automatically pull those information. So as someone make progress in their career and they get promoted from individual contributor to new managers, we will know that without the humans telling us as well.
Interesting. Right. And would it then know to say, hey, I understand you've just been promoted to a new manager. Is there anything that you need from me? Does it do things like that, or is that just too creepy?
Yeah. No, it can. So understand you just got promoted to be a new manager. Here's some information for new managers that you might find useful, interesting. Here's some common challenges that we know that new managers face. For example, how to give feedback, how to have difficult conversation, and then give recommended information and see if the user wants to learn more about those. So
Oh, that's clever. I love
mhm,
that. That's a wonderful notion. Very interesting. So you can actually, so you can connect emotions basically to things like an HRIS
mhm.
system that can
Yeah,
track things like career, career changes, or what about things like performance reviews and stuff like that?
yeah. If a company give us kind of access to some of those, we can connect that the performance review system and understand what someone's performance information is, like what someone's goal is, what are the performance review information is, and
Hmm.
then kind of help someone understand, like, okay, in your performance review, here's a few growth kind of areas for growth that you have identified, maybe together with your manager, and here's some suggestions and on how to address those. Now we can even go a step further, help people draft performance review information as well. So we can, if we can sync up to people's chat tools and project management tools um, and other tools that people use, we can even help summarize and say, here's how you can draft your own accomplishment this year. For example, an
Wow.
engineer, this amount of tickets you have done and this amount of project you have been involved in. And then on the other hand, for a peer or manager, we can also look through, like, okay, here's some of the chat histories that you have with someone, and here's some high level in overview of how many projects someone has done and what are things. So here's some suggestion on kind of talking points for performance review, so we can help understand. I mean, a powerful thing about AI is it can analyze and digest a huge amount of data, sometimes better, actually oftentimes better than human. So kind of making use of those data and information is some of the key as well.
Yeah, I mean that's wild. That's fascinating. That's something weirdly that I hadn't kind of like picked up on in all the research I did ahead of our conversation. But it makes perfect sense, right? Because over and over again, AI tools that are being used in sort of an HR context, um, almost all have a requirement or a suggestion, certainly, that they can get access to as much information, cross-functionally as
Hmm.
possible. Because then, to your point, that's sort of the whole magic of AI,
Hmm.
and in the machine learning that kind of sits behind it, which is
Yeah.
it can ingest a load of different types of data, structured and unstructured, and quickly make sense of it at incredible speeds. And then importantly, you give it a context to share information and kind of, somehow assimilate or aggregate information across
Hmm.
multiple different data sources. And suddenly you get a very full picture of what a person is like. So, I mean, you take an example, I imagine, of like a salesperson, and somebody who's come in as a sales associate, and those first painful, first few years trying to learn the craft of brilliant salesmanship um,
Hmm.
is really, really hard work. But if I had a tool that could kind of coach me, for instance, on things like that, if that was connected to an HRIS, so they had all the sort of core demographic information about me, it was connected to a performance management system, so we could basically kind of learn, what it is I'm suffering from and what I need to do to work. Maybe even suggest, some possible trainings and things of that nature. If it was then
Hmm.
connected to a CRM system to actually show what my actual production is, how many phone calls I'm making, how many follow-ups I'm making, and things of that nature. It might suggest, hey, not for nothing, but you should probably increase your call volume by a factor of 20% every day. It seems, compared, frankly, with best practice out there, the more contact you make, typically the better your chances, frankly, are of getting that meeting and moving
Yeah.
forward. I mean, having kind of things like that is it's magic. I mean, that's stuff that you otherwise can only pin on whether or not your manager had enough time, or frankly was good enough and kind enough
Hmm.
to kind of talk you through those kinds of things. So I mean, if you could automate some of those elements, that's huge. That's
Yes.
huge. Fascinating. Very cool. Um, where is this tool just basically for employees at certain levels, or is this sort of like a every level in the organization? How's that work?
Yeah. So far, we have been talking to, I mean, hundreds of users and customers, and the target for our tool is the earlier career people, like kind of people who are new to their job, or people who are early on in the career, or people who are new as a new manager, new leader, or mid-level manager leader. So it's less for kind of like SVPs and executives, but for people more early on. So some of the use cases we have include using the AI to onboard new hires quickly, help them digest and guide them to the right information and learning, help mid-level managers and new managers, and give them kind of real-time, in-the-moment coaching if needed, help individual contributors when they run into issues, and they can use the AI as a sounding board without waiting to talk to their manager or HR, like you mentioned. We can also do role plays with kind of, customer support, sales, people having conflicts with their team members, or having conflicts with their direct reports, or so. Yeah, those are target.
Wow, gosh, that's a lot. Okay, that's brilliant. Very brilliant. Cool. Now, how long has Amotions been around? And where is it you guys hope to go from here for the next year or two?
Yes, great question. So Amotions has been around for 2 years, and we're hoping that we have about 2,000 users now. We got our first company trying out using our product, and we're talking to a few other companies about starting. Actually, we started a new pilot this week with a company that's about 5,000 to 10,000 employees, a tech company called Wax, and we're talking to a few other companies, including some Fortune 500 companies, about starting pilot. It's like a few of them, including like Takeda and Intel and a few other companies. So we are hoping to, in the next year or two, we are hoping to make this get into, for example, like if we can get into 50 companies' hands, and then each company will have like 500 employees using it, that would be great. And then in the next 5 years, we want to get into like 1,000 organizations, and each of them hopefully on average has like 1,000 employees using it. And then, long term, I would like this tool to be available for millions of people across the world, and regardless of their economic circumstances. Because, coming from a village myself in China, I want it to be beneficial for people in developing countries and other places. And the good thing about our AI is we have been testing it. It's if someone talked to our AI in Chinese, it can actually respond back without us doing doing a lot more work. So if someone is just using our AI component, they can actually use it in their own native language, and it understand it. Now, our
That's
videos
good.
and practices are not those. It has to be localized, but the AI itself, it's multilingual. So
That is brilliant. Oh, God, I'll tell you what, the wonders of technology, they will never cease. That is huge. I was actually going to ask you about that because, to your point, we're dealing with very, very global organizations, typically the ones that you're selling into. And the last thing you want to do is, hey, here's a wonderful tool for you. It does all these incredible things if you speak English, kind of thing. As opposed to, it has sort of a multimodal, multilingual kind of thing. I love this notion. I love this idea. I am, and always have been, a very massive advocate of HR technologies, basically, that give the employee, a sense of control, a sense of agency, a sense of, management, if you will, over their own destinies. And a lot of tools claim to have this capacity. And they say, like you talk to some of the big ERP systems and things of that nature. It's like, oh, but we have an employee self-service module. And it's like, so they can change their addresses, their bank details, and whether or not they had a kid recently, and that's about it. As opposed to, here is something that is for you. End of. right? This is something that basically doesn't report back into us.
Yeah.
This is something that secures your information and makes it your own. It is private. You can only choose to share it if, in fact, you choose to share
Yeah.
it. And even then, it's not as if you press a button and it just goes blah out to everybody.
Yeah.
It is proprietary to you. And then importantly, it is deeply personalized to your circumstances, to your
Hmm.
challenges, to your issues. And we wanted to give this to you basically as a gift because we think this will help you, kind of migrate your career, kind of integrate challenges in life and work and balance. I mean, you name it, you name a topic, and this tool will know about it and will give
Hmm.
you some good, wholesome, intelligent advice around it. Um, and the notion is that it never kind of like it never forgets, right? And it never judges, and it never basically brings its own baggage, into your conversation. You always ever feel heard. You always ever feel supported.
Yeah.
Um, and again, it's between you and emotions. What a wonderful thing. You know what I mean? I mean, I hope that the advent of AI brings a lot of this to our world.
Hmm.
Uh, you know what I mean? Because I think that is just it's game changing, and it will hopefully help relieve a lot of the stresses and the challenges and the issues that often remain unspoken and unaddressed
Hmm.
in organizations for all the reasons that we've already mentioned. And I love that you're kind of like taking the air out of an over pressurized tire basically and letting it breathe, letting it
Yeah.
get back down to its normal state. Interesting, cool. So, any other thoughts? Any parting thoughts before we kind of move on from this?
Um, I mean, it's interesting. You have comments that kind of uh, get. I have talked to some people using our product, and they feel like it's having the AI having the AI in a kind of more text and visualized way. It's actually sometimes it's easier for some people to digest and kind of get quick and direct feedback and understand the concept instead of using their words instead of in a real life situation when they have to handle different personalities and with all these kind of emotional status. Uh, and they feel like I mean, it was surprising to me, but it was interesting to hear that they feel like it's actually easier to digest than in a someone giving feedback real life in a situation. So
It's
um
fascinating, right? Because yeah, you're absolutely right. Because I think oftentimes, this is just from my own personal experience, but certainly as an HR practitioner who's given
mm,
thousands of difficult conversations,
mhm,
you can see immediately when you start getting into difficult, challenging,
mhm,
worrying territory with people psychologically, they completely tense up, right? I mean, everybody talks about the fight or flight emotion kind of kicks in, your vision narrows, your heart starts to beat harder, your extremities go cold,
mhm,
and you basically just a normal physiological reaction to an intense amount of stress because you're not quite sure what's about to happen, but you know that it potentially is dangerous in some way,
mm,
shape, or form, minor or major. And what I love about this modality, the way in which basically emotions and AI generally can kind of address this is there's there's none of that, in that relationship. It's basically you kind of going through the
mhm,
challenges and issues you have, and really it's down to you simply to be as articulate and as clear as you possibly can be with a
mhm,
tool that when it reads and understands what you're on about can start to then anticipate, oh, okay, this is going to be difficult for you. I appreciate that. Let me kind of first understand that, but importantly, let me give you some pro tips and tricks and hacks and things of that nature that basically can kind of get you through this, hopefully without the overwhelming anxiety, kind of issues. And I think that's what's really powerful about that, because you don't always get that with humans, you
no,
know,
yeah.
just yeah. So that's very cool. I also didn't want to kind of blow past the fact that you have an ambition at some point to give this product out to folks who otherwise probably can't afford it. I think it's a brilliant idea. I mean, geez, I'm sitting here complaining with a silver spoon in my mouth, lucky as I was growing up. that wouldn't this have been nice to have my whole life? Well, can you imagine growing up, to your point, in a small rural village, with minimal access to technology and minimal access to like advanced education and things of that nature, and having a tool like this at your disposal on a mobile phone,
Yeah.
as and when you ever needed it. I mean, it just hopefully would be game changing.
Yeah, we
in the
actually
world.
already have a free tier that anyone can sign up and access and try. So
All right,
yeah,
good. So that's it, folks. I would, but where, Pianpian, where do people find out more about Amotions, and where can they sign up and have some fun with it?
it's amotionsinc.com. So amotionsinc.com, amotionsinc.com. That's where they can sign up to the product for free to try. They can also contact us to discuss how we can kind of customize it and do more deep dive. They can also find me on LinkedIn or other Twitter or Facebook, other social media, Instagram, Pianpian, and then Amotions. You should be able to find us. So we'd love to chat with anyone who's interested, and happy to brainstorm and help in any way I can as well, share knowledge. Thank you so much, Jeff. I really appreciate that, all the great kind of brainstorming and questions that you have, and all the research you have done, and all the kind words that you have expressed. So thank you, really appreciate it.
You're very kind to say so. I was about to thank you profusely for spending your precious time with us, with us. I'm talking about myself in the third person now. That's worrying. But no, I really have been inspired by your story. I've been inspired by your product. I love this notion. I love when people do good with AI and kind of take it to the limit and really kind of help others, help human beings basically kind of become the best versions of themselves as a result of it. So yeah, it's been really wonderful chatting with you and getting to know you, and I hope that we'll spend a lot more time together in the future. But yeah, folks, please go check it out, amotionsinc.com, and get your free trial and have a play, and let Pianpian know what your experience has been like.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you so much, Jeff. We're early stage, so always appreciate feedback, and we're looking for people to kind of work with us closely to make the product even more valuable for you. So yeah, thank you.
Brilliant. Good. The feedback is brilliant. Nice one. Good. Well, thank you very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Take care.